GM friends, it has been a while. Welcome to episode 20 of Audio Galleries, a Rug Radio production. Thanks to the Rug Radio handle for joining in with us. Also, thank you to our friends at OpenSea. I am Benjamin White, now at Hello Ben White. I changed my handle. Your host, and we are back from a 7-week hiatus to bring you a string of amazing interviews starting today with artworks leading to our Series 1 finale in November. If you have enjoyed the previous 19 episodes of Audio Galleries, things are about to get hot and spicy and exciting in this Audio Galleries kitchen. Very quick disclaimer for you all. This is not intended to and should not be treated as financial advice. Do your own research and stay safe in Web3. It is also a recorded spaces that will go on to become a published podcast. So please do consider this when requesting to speak during this episode, because it will be published regardless. Can you all, once again, I'm just going to put it out there, retweet the pinned post and drop comments in the chat, bottom right. Also, let's keep it interactive. So as of now, I will start bringing some people up. If you have anything insightful or humorous to add, please join in, raise a hand, be kind, be respectful. Any pinned tweets to the top is a boot down. And anyone who talks when hasn't been spoken to, also a boot down. Just laying it out there, being very, very clear with everyone. Episode 19, all those weeks ago, seems like a lifetime ago, with the wonderful Gavin Mealer. Thanks to those who joined us and minted Gavin's work, a wonderful young artist in the space. Share of revenue for artists minting with Audio Galleries is now over $200,000, which is just incredible. For context, if you are new here, Audio Galleries is an art-focused Web3 project working to connect emerging and established artists with a community of digital art collectors and enthusiasts. The show features an artist creating stunning art with a story to tell and making it available via the blockchain. I interview each guest and we learn more about their style, their inspiration, process, previous works and future plans. And then during the show, we launch an open edition mint with our friends at OpenSea. Art is provided obviously by our guests and available to purchase for between kind of $15 to $75, depending on, what's going on. Audio Galleries mint pass holders who mint this piece will also be rewarded with additional exclusive pieces. More on that today when today's mint goes live, because we have additional airdrops, bear drops, all kinds of things going on, which I will explain. For more information on all of this, follow Audio Galleries on Twitter, join the Discord, and subscribe to the newsletter. Okay, our artist for today. I am excited about this one. You can probably tell by my voice. It's Stephen Bliss, a highly acclaimed artist, muralist, and illustrator who has cultivated an illustrious career spanning over 3 decades and 3 continents. As senior artist at Rockstar Games from 2001 to 2016, Stephen is attributed with establishing the highly recognizable illustrative style for the multi-billion-dollar Grand Theft Auto franchise, the most lucrative entertainment product of all time. His skills have also extended to other highly lauded games such as The Warriors, LA Noire, and Red Dead Redemption, producing game box covers, international magazine covers, posters, billboards, promotional merchandise, you name it. He's also produced an array of non-game related artwork for Rockstar, contributing to the company's image as a creative powerhouse. Stephen's artistic expertise is not solely limited to the video game industry, though. Before joining, his distinctive design aesthetic secured projects as in-house artist with Japanese fashion brand Hysteric Glamour, Massive Attack, MTV, Nintendo, Pepsi, Sony, GQ, and Burton Snowboards. Additionally, Stephen has painted comic strips for the Sunday Times, Sunday Telegraph, Guardian, and produced his own comic strips for Deadline Comics. Following his departure from Rockstar in 2016, you can tell I'm reading it now, Stephen has devoted his energy to the pursuit of fine art, which I love, holding solo exhibitions in London, New York, LA, and displaying his talent as a muralist in projects in New York City, Miami, and Guam. His latest project, Fear City, an NFT series, originally with 6 characters, 3,333 unique creations, has grown into a 24-page comic NFT, VR social media filters, a Web3 clothing line with other IRL projects and collaborations, including one with Jeff Staple, one of our friends. And there's an upcoming issue of the physical Fear City comic with Scout Comics. Oh my goodness, I could go on and on. All we know is that he has and continues to captivate audiences, inspire fellow artists worldwide, firmly establishing himself as a celebrated icon in the art world. Stephen Bliss, welcome to Audio Galleries.
Hi. You know what? I need to replay that every day when I wake up. I started feeling really good about
well,
myself.
so you bloody well should.
Well, you know what it's like? It's like I've only just really gotten over the imposter syndrome, and hopefully that's inspiring to a lot of people, because I think a lot of artists feel like that. And I think, I'm definitely going to replay that every morning. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. And I did say, when I approached you about this, I was kind of like, I did play the whole kind of like dream come true card. Listen, like, as I said in a tweet yesterday, Grand Theft Auto particularly, like, I knew you before I knew you. And Grand Theft Auto and that artwork is so culturally important to me. Like, my teen years were spent playing those games with friends, and that artwork is just like culturally so relevant to me. And I'm sure if it's the most successful, or most lucrative entertainment product of all time to date, then there must be millions and hundreds of millions of people that feel the same way as me. So to have you on and to be able to talk to you about this kind of stuff is incredible. My friend Lurk has come up, who might drop a little question in a minute or two. Hands up if anyone wants to, but if anyone else wants to join the space, please just request to come up, and Stephen is, I'm sure, happy to answer some questions once we get going. But why don't we start initially, Stephen? Never mind the fact that I just gave, I don't know what you could possibly tell us that I didn't just cover, but perhaps like a quick introduction about you by you.
What can I say? What's left? So I'm English. I turned 60 this year. I have been here for 21 years in New York. I came over to do the GTA 3 cover. And of course, little did I know how incredible GTA would blow up. You know, it's an unprecedented thing, really. And then before that, I was living in London. And before that, I lived in Japan for 4 years in the 80s. So that was kind of insane as well, living there. I've got a few stories to tell that I can't tell on this.
Yeah, you can. Show. There's no holds barred here. But okay, well, look, why don't we go back in time then? Because, and by the way, I can't believe you're 60 this year. Good moisturizer. But let's quickly go back in time. Like, why don't we talk about your origin story as an artist and designer? Like, what age? What was the route in? What were your first gigs? Did you always know you wanted to do it? Let's learn a little bit more about a very young Stephen Bliss making his way into the art world.
Well, I always liked drawing, and I think it must have been just the result of boredom, coming from a small town. And you kind of like, back then I had a football and I had paper and pens, and that's how I would entertain myself. And as I grew up, I won a few competitions as a kid, local stuff, and thought, I might be quite good. But then when I saw Queen on TV one day at the age of like 14, I thought, well, no, I want to be a guitarist. I want to be a pop star. So, and then punk happened, and I didn't need to actually learn to play the guitar, which was a great combination. But I was too, I had bands, and that's how I started doing graphics. People like Jamie Reed, Barney Bubbles, and those fantastic English punk designers back in the day. They made it look really, not really easy, but it really inspired pretty much a whole generation to make music and to make art. And so I started off doing posters for my punk bands to advertise our gigs. And that passion for just creating stuff just exploded, really, and then I went to art college, but I was an undisciplined guitarist, and I was pretty shit. And in fact, I've been told now by the band that they used to turn my guitar off when I was on stage. It was just quite unfair, really, wasn't it?
What, and you didn't know?
No, I had a suspicion. I thought I was just turned down a bit, but they'd switched me off.
That is class. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So, well, this is amazing, and we'll talk a little bit about the Rockstar gig shortly. I'm interested to understand a little bit more then about like maybe the art scene, not where you're from, but the art scene that was around you then when you were growing up. Like, tell me a little bit about what inspired you. You've spoken about punk music, but what inspired your creative style?
I've always loved comics, and that's still very much an influence. So Marvel, like Spider-Man and the Hulk, when I was growing up, I still have those comics from when I was a kid. But that whole kind of Grand Theft Auto box style, the frames, I mean, that pretty much came from me copying Marvel comics when I was a kid, and that stuck with me. And you can see that influence in those covers, GTA 3 and Vice City. They're like comic book pages. So very much comic books. And then people like Robert Crumb, Robert Williams, and all those psychedelic artists from the 60s, they also made art, they made stuff look accessible again. So I would copy that style, and that stuck with me throughout when I was working at Hysteric Glamour in Japan. What else? Nothing. I mean, I've never really been a huge fan of what you consider like art that you would see in a museum. I've always mainly been into photographers and graphic designers and vintage posters. European movie posters blow my mind because they seem to have nothing to do with the movie. They just look great.
Well, we'll get into that in a moment when we talk about the piece that's going live today, because that's certainly inspired from that side of things. I know that you've just mentioned you spent some time in Japan. What was going on there then, and how has that fed into like your practice and your artwork?
Well, I've always been really embarrassed to say this, but I went over originally. I was as a model to do fashion shows. I was 6 months out of art college. I'd moved from Brighton to London, and it was a kind of classic kind of thing of being discovered. My girlfriend, who was a model, was late to meet me, so I stormed into her agency, like asking where she was. And 6 months later, I was flying over to Japan to do fashion shows. So that was like a fantastic opportunity. And I kind of gave up doing art for a while because the life being a model was such an easy way to earn money and a lot of fun. Then after a while, I bought my portfolio over from London and started showing it around. And there was one opportunity at Comme des Garçons, which luckily, when I look back, didn't come through. But the Hysteric Glamour picked me up. They really loved what I did. And there was the head designer is called Nobuhiko Kitamura, who's a genius. And we just pretty much worked for 3 years together and didn't really go home very often. We would go back and watch movies, but it was a crazy like 3 days of working with no sleep. Then we'd have a bowl of cornflakes, go to sleep for a few hours, and then go back to the office.
Sounds like glory days.
Yeah, glory days. I've been writing the book for a long time. I've got 7 rejection letters from English publishers, which I'm very proud of, which I actually need to print those out and frame them. But I actually thought, no, don't do this. Don't write this until your son, my son's 14 right now, and he doesn't need a role model with those stories out there. So I'm going to wait till he's around 25,
Okay, and then he'll be proud. Tell me then about the Japanese culture during that period, and what you were enjoying out there from a creative point of view. I mean, obviously fashion sounds like it was the kind of the number one, but what have you then pulled in, or what did that period of your career kind of like teach you?
Well, we were constantly being inspired by Robert Crumb and those psychedelic artists, always studying what they were doing and emulating our versions of that art form. We were very inspired by Andy Warhol and the whole factory scene, the whole attitude of the factory scene. Constantly kind of like taking notes and sketching and just constantly writing down ideas. Obviously, manga and anime, which is still a big influence on me because my son's a big fan of One Piece and JoJo Bizarre Adventures, if I got the name right. But it's great that he's turning me back on to anime, you know, because it's so weird and the narratives are so different to Western narratives. Over here, everything has to make sense and it has to follow a certain structure. But in Japan, it's more about kind of experience, visual experience. And that was very inspiring when I was there. There was, you know, such weird stuff I was watching that didn't necessarily make sense. I guess it was in the same way that Eastern European poster art doesn't make sense. It's just visually incredible, you know.
Absolutely, and I love that, and I love how that. I get the feeling that some of that has come into your Rockstar days. I want to move on to that in a second. Before we get to there, though, let's talk about your artistic process itself. Like, how do you create? Are you a painter? Are you a digital artist? Are you a sketcher? Are you all of the above? Do you do, you know, sculpture? Like, what's your practice look like?
I do a hell of a lot of different stuff, and I put it down to being a Gemini because I'm not schizo. I'm just like, I think I must be a Gemini, and I get very bored with artists that always make the same looking art with the same style, and I've always wanted to be like, if I see an artist I really like, I'm like, I want to try and do something like that, you know. So I'm always experimenting. In my spare time, I get like old brown kind of musical scores from the 1920s and 30s, and I'll paint directly onto them in black ink, usually like beautiful women or strange looking men or whatever, directly onto the covers. And what else? If I'm going to do a commercial piece of art, I've got to do a black and white rough to show the client what it's going to look like, and then do a rough color, and then start working up the final art on the computer. But I did go through a phase after Rockstar of just doing fine art, and what I was doing was ripping down huge chunks of advertising posters that were damaged and weathered from hoardings around New York downtown. And I would take these huge chunks to the studio, and then I would chop them up and put them onto canvas, and then cut into the surface of these kind of battered posters and paint over the top. So I did that for about 3 years and had some good shows, which I may go back to. But after a while, I was kind of like, I got into NFTs, I guess. And
I've seen that work on your website. It is pretty cool, actually. I love that side of your practice, and the fact that you are so versatile, I think, is what is so mysterious. And I mean that, like, my expectation initially would have been that, like, the Rockstar Grand Theft Auto style was just your thing, and that was your thing, and you rolled out your thing, and that was it. But actually, there's much more to your portfolio, your work, and I would implore anyone to check out your website because you can see it all up there, and I've pored over it the last few weeks while we've been preparing for this show. Okay, I want to get into it now. I'd like to know more about Rockstar, and I don't like. I appreciate like a single body of work can't define you, but this for me was just like when I was introduced to you, I was just like, you know, wide-eyed and full of enthusiasm. And so I would love to know a little bit, if you can, what you can share about like how the Rockstar gig came about, what it was like to create in that business over such a long period of time, and how it felt when that franchise exploded the way it did.
Yeah, having some versatility really helped me at Rockstar, because every time we did a new game, the brief was do something the same but different, and it didn't make a lot of sense to me for a while. Of course, it now does, because you look back at all those covers, they're Rockstar covers. Even if you didn't know who Rockstar was, you would know that they all belong to the same company, but the styles are very different. And I love the progression of like the GTA 3 cover that was so much, it had like three colors on the cover maybe, and black. And slowly you build up to GTA 5, which was beautifully photographic, and it kind of paralleled the quality, I guess, of the games,
Yeah, like the progression of the games.
But I feel those early ones, I keep getting the impression the early ones seem to be really popular. I'm not sure why, but they really resonate with people. I guess that we were really doing something very different back then in 2001. Everything was kind of very airbrushed, and screenshots from games that were kind of airbrushed. And we came along. It was kind of like a punk thing. And I think Sam took a big risk on releasing that cover because it was so different at the time. Just to have that very broken down monotone cover,
It made it like iconic though, right? And in the middle of that you had the Vice City kind of like Miami pastel color, white suits, Lamborghinis. I remember the character names, but like I think I agree with you. I think it was absolutely the fact that what you were creating there when it came to like console games, because these games weren't online games at the time. 2001, you were still buying a disc and playing it on your own, or with friends who were in the room, and it was just so immersive. For the first time ever, you felt like you were being transported into a world, into a metaverse in a sense. Like I remember when San Andreas came out, and the idea that you could spend 45 minutes driving from one side of the game to the other side of the game without actually having to do anything was just mind blowing. And I think that gameplay differential, totally came across also in the artwork and the storyline, the narratives that were being created. Were you briefed on characters, or did you work with them to create the characters?
No, they gave me briefs of all the characters. The iconic women weren't. They were kind of like something that I came up with, and they became the front icons of the games, really. And I don't think, I mean, Misty was in GTA 3. She was the first iconic woman. And then you had Martini Girl. She wasn't in Vice City. Then you had, who was the next one? Oh, yeah, my ex-wife, GTA 4, the Lollipop Girl. That was my ex-wife. Just a quick weird story. A day I got married, we were driving to the reception, and there was a poster of me, who was, I was posing for the Nico Bellic iconic picture of the one where he's staring you in the eyes and punching his own hand, kind of gripping his own gloved hand. There was a poster of me modeling that one, and then next to that was my wife sucking on a lollipop. And then she was on like that big Bowery billboard, billboard of her, and it was kind of like very, very surreal. So anyway, my point being was that the women were not part of the games, I don't think, but all the other characters were. I was briefed on who they should be.
Amazing. So when it exploded the way it did, like, what was it like working with that team? Was it always remote? Were you in the offices with them? Like, what was that like? Because it must have been really uplifting to know that you were now part of something that was just exploding in the space.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. It was very hard work, and Rockstar are famous for their work environment. And I personally, I loved it. I didn't mind doing long hours. I mean, I think I worked longer hours in Japan, and I've always been a complete workaholic. So we were like our own little community, just completely immersed in the Rockstar world. But it was a very strange environment sometimes, because occasionally we'd have like guys with security guards with guns on the door because people had threatened to come and kill us all. There's one guy who thought he was Nico from GTA 4 and that we had ripped him off, and he was going to come in and kill us because he wanted some money for us stealing his personality, which was weird, because of course, kind of like Lindsay Lohan suing us for that famous the painting of the girl being arrested by the cop by the car. Like, it's nothing to do with her,
Yeah. Did were there any comeback from, like, there were some real characters in a few of the games that were like the lawyer, who was clearly based on Sean Penn in Carlito's Way, and there's a few others where you look at the character and you're like, I recognize that character. Like, was there ever any kind of like pushback in that sense, or was it fairly kind of like, was it giggled at by people in the industry?
I don't think there was any pushback at all. I mean, they employed a lot of famous people. I think the first company to consciously employ famous people to do voiceovers, and some of those characters looked like the real actors. But it's kind of like the GTA games were fantastic parodies, weren't they? There was always, and I think legally you can, if you parody something, the copyright laws kind of slack.
Amazing. I remember those soundtracks too, like the radio stations in the vehicles you could drive around, and like I still listen to those soundtracks on YouTube sometimes. Like, I listen to some of the radio stations just because that I must have listened to them for hours on end when I was playing the game, and so there's something comforting about it. Stephen, I'm so grateful for you going into that. I don't want to just keep on going with the Rockstar thing, but I'm really grateful for you actually taking the time to go in depth on it. I know, it must sometimes be quite frustrating that people want to know so much about that, and there's so much more to you. I do have a little announcement though, and that is
Artist Edition is live.
And that is that if folks go right now to OpenSea, and you only need to go OpenSea.io because it's there on the homepage, you can now go and mint Synpetica by Stephen Bliss, which is a beautiful artwork, which I can't wait to talk to you about in a second. I'm going to just go over a few details about the mint. So it's an open edition mint, which means the community will determine the supply. It's not a fixed supply, so as many people can mint as many of them as they would like. And when it closes after 72 hours, that is when we will know how many the collection is made up of. It's a single artwork, so all artworks will be the same. There's no like reveal afterwards. However, holders of either the Audio Gallery's Mint Pass or holders of Stephen's own Fear City NFT collection will also be given a little treat should they mint this collection. So they will need to actually mint a piece, but for however many they mint, if they pair them with one of those other NFTs, so either an Audio Gallery's Mint Pass or a Fear City NFT, they will be receiving I've coined it a bear drop. They'll be airdropped. There's one of 3 artworks that Stephen has created, which are these wonderful bear characters that are from the Fear City universe. So if you mint one of them and you own one other, then you can you'll receive one of those bears. If you own 2 and 2, that's 2. If you own 3 and 3, you'll get all 3 artworks. I'll make sure of it. If you own like 6 and you mint 6, then you'll get like 2 of each, if you know what I mean. Like, I'll work it through very carefully so that people will receive an even amount. You won't just receive 3 of the same artwork. I'll make sure that it's all spread out. But there are 3 wonderful airdrops and this main piece. So before we get into that, 72 hours from now, which means it closes, today's Thursday, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday evening, So you have plenty of time to do it. And the price is 0.022 Ethereum. It's minting right now. Thank you to our friends at OpenSea for all of your support getting this live. And also thank you for hosting it on the homepage banner. Really, really amazing and very lucrative real estate in the world of NFTs right now, I can tell you. I'm very, very grateful. And it's great to see so many people already out there purchasing. We're at 160 already minted, which is fabulous.
That's
Yeah,
good.
I know. Amazing. So, Stephen, it is a really, really cool artwork, Synpetica. Why don't you give us a little bit of an overview of it and maybe some of the inspiration behind it? Because I'm sure people would love to hear about that.
It's this might sound a bit arrogant, but I've always set out in when I started in NFTs, Web3 2 years ago, to do the best art there is in Web3. And I've been kind of like pissed off that no one is actually, not enough people have seen the art in the past 2 years and kind of reacted as strongly as I want them to. So with this poster, it's kind of, I call it a poster because it's not a PFP. It's a piece of art that you can put on your wall on a screen and just have there, like a poster permanently. I wanted to make it the most detailed piece I've done in the past 2 years. It's a lot of intricate little things going on. It's based on the same kind of James Bond vibe of a classic action movie from the 70s. The storyline is based around Synpetica. That's a kind of Apple type tech company who make these beautiful hybrid animal robots, and they are fabulous new pets that do everything. They're powered by AI. They clean, they cook, they're therapists, they tell you jokes, they play music, they do everything that they're kind of like most apps kind of rolled into one animal who goes to cuddles you and says I love you and kind of like perceives what mood you're in and gives you the right compliment to suit your mood. So there's all, it's kind of, but of course what's going to go wrong is they're programmed to destroy Fair City at some point. So it's kind of like a parallel of how we love AI at the moment. I think most people actually like in awe of it when they play with it, but there's a lot of people that are scared of it. I don't believe it will destroy AI will destroy us because I kind of think robots are pretty crap. They're limited. They might get better, but I don't think so. They'll never be as good as humans. But so that's the basis of the poster. An evil tech company out to destroy us with AI.
I love it, and you've had this in mind, right, for some time, and yet in the time it's taken you to have the opportunity to want to bring it to market, the rise of AI has been happening all around us, right?
Yeah, it's funny. There's been a couple of situations recently where I'm like, I need to get this story out there. I wrote it like 2 years ago when I first started with NFTs. And when the guy who was backing Fair City asked me to write a roadmap, I didn't know what he was talking about. I thought he meant like storylines. So I wrote storylines for the next 4 NFT releases for the next 4 years, back in whenever it was 2 years ago. And the third story is Synpetica, where the pets take over Fear City and destroy it. I actually wanted to destroy all characters in Fear City on the first Genesis drop, but he kind of put me off that idea. I was like, I can do another 100 characters. Let's just destroy them all because no one's done that before. So it took me 2 years to destroy them all. What was I going to say?
I'm not sure, but maybe the bears. Let's talk about those too, because there are then 3 bears that we're going to be airdropping to people who purchase one of the Synpeticas and also hold a combination of other NFTs. So, what's the inspiration? Are the bears part of the AI robot pets?
Yeah, the bears are the first kind of the hybrid pets. So there's 3 different versions. They're all wearing different accessories that you can buy online on the Sympatica website. Of course, that's fictional, but just as you have iPad, iPod, kind of whatever. God, that shows my age.
iPod.
But what am I like? Oh,
but I know what you mean, though, right? So these are the accessories you can buy for your pets.
Fictional accessories. That's right. And these are Mark I bears. I mean, in the year and a half I've been doing the artwork, I have trashed the first 2 levels of animals because I didn't think they were good enough. So the actual Mark III pets that no one has seen yet were supposed to be released next year with a huge platform that are going to be making I don't know if they are anymore, but they'll be releasing a big platform, and the pets was going to be a big drop with them. But these are kind of Mark I pets, and I went back to them. I thought I really like these, and the bears actually came from when we did an airdrop with our community members, and there were 7 pets, I think, that I did as little badges that we airdropped to people depending on how many Fierce City NFTs you had. So I don't know I think the bear might be a gangster badge, and I think it was like if you have over 10 Fierce City NFTs, you got the bear gangster badge. And I really loved the bear character, and I developed a storyline based on the bears that the zoo is dilapidated in Fierce City, and the animals start forming their own street gangs because Fierce City is very much like based on Warriors, where you have the different street gangs, and the bears start going missing, and it turns out that Sympatica are stealing them from the zoo and making hybrids of them, implanting them with AI and robots.
I love it.
So it came from kind of accidental, serendipitous kind of stumbling of I guess that's how the working process always goes, doesn't it?
I love it. Well, we are very, very grateful that you have chosen to mint them with us at Audio Galleries. Sigrid and I this week have had so much fun, playing around with the artwork, and Sigrid's done an amazing job as well of creating, working with you to create banners and all of these things. And yeah, thank you so much. It's really, really amazing artwork. And yeah, we're very, very grateful. There are a few others on stage right now. So we've got Lurk and Golden from Rug Radio. If you guys have a question, raise a hand, guys. But I'm gonna take Stephen through a couple of additional questions. But I'm gonna let Lurk ask a question first, because here he is. Hey, Lurk, how you doing?
How are you, the lads? What's going on, like?
Hi, Lurk.
Lurk to Geordie.
Like?
All right.
No, I just wanted to say, pretty impressive resume, man. I'm kind of getting up into that age range myself, so it's really impressive to see your career, and I'm really stoked for you. But in that resume, though, I didn't hear how good of a dancer you were. So what's your dance moves like?
I was actually really good when I was younger. Well, at least I thought I was. Because it was, I came out of disco era. So when I was 12, Saturday Night Fever was really big, and I learned all the moves from Saturday Night Fever, and I actually got a white suit and would go to discos and do John Travolta moves.
I mean, we all like to write our own reviews, Stephen.
TMI there, but really. And then when I went to art college, it was what was it, house music, and I actually really enjoyed dancing at that point. So but I needed to actually stop doing the spins, when you do the 360, because I only fell over once doing a John Travolta 360, but you got to go for it, haven't you? So
I love that. I actually won a couple of dance competitions when I was at art college at the Student Union in Barnsley, so that was fun.
You can always rely on Lurk for a completely unrelated, hilarious question. Thank you, Lurk. I'm very grateful.
Just wondering if Lurk had the trophies.
No, just the bottle of Lambrini. I just downed it.
Nice.
Thank you, Lurk. Hey, Magpie, how's it going? I haven't seen you for a while.
Hey, it's going fantastic. feel free literally to boot me right back down to speaker in a sec. Or I mean to listener if you want to. I'm literally just got off of my flight to go to my sister's wedding, but I saw this space was today, and you couldn't not come in and say hey to Steven and wish him the best of luck on this. Because I've been there at the beginning when he was building all this stuff. These ideas are fantastic, and it's so cool to see him getting to put them out. And it is. I'm rambling. Good luck, kick butt, and feel free to mute my butt.
I love Magpie.
Exhausted.
He's one of my favorite people. We started off really like a controversial kind of like fallout on the first day of the Genesis drop, but then became really good friends and hooked up and worked together on Fear City. He's Magpie. You're like going to be, as I've said before, a massive force in NFT and Web3. If you're not already, which I think you are, but you're going to be like a Gary V one day.
Damn. That's incredibly kind. I'm not here at all to do any of my shit. Like literally, I'm doing interesting stuff, which is not for this audio file. But just seriously, keep kicking butt out there, Steven. And I wanted to say before my exhausted brain reminds myself not to, I've got posters of you signed up on my bedroom. I've been doing this since before it was cool. So get out there and mint this stuff, guys. It's really cool.
Thank you, Magpie. That's amazing.
Thanks, Magpie.
Really, really appreciate it. I've got a couple of questions. We've got 15 more minutes, Steven, if that's all right with you. So one of them that I've got is I'm going to take the level down a little bit again, and I'm going to get we're going to get personal and we're going to connect here. But I want to know like what being an artist, a creative, means to you, and what it means to you to kind of like build a legacy with a fan base.
Well, it's a constant struggle, to be honest. I obviously am grateful that I can spend my days making art, and a lot of the time I'm making art for myself, which is difficult to finance, but I seem to be doing it and have been doing it for many years, and I need to appreciate that. But it's a struggle. And to be honest, if I was a lecturer at a college, I'd probably survive one day at college as a teacher, because I would tell everyone to leave and not. If you like, all right, I'll change that. I would say if you're not going to work your ass off, if you're not going to be completely and utterly 200% committed, and be prepared to make sacrifices and work really, really hard, you should leave right now and save your parents some tuition money, and then just get the slackers out, because it's hard work.
I love that. And I think that ethic is really, really like apparent in pretty much every single artist that we've had come up on Audio Galleries. Like the work ethic, I'm not going to say struggle, although sometimes struggle, but just the single-minded determination to turn up every day, even when they're on their own, and keep creating and keep plugging away, is something that just comes through in artists who are making great shit, and it comes through so clearly every single time. It's been like the one common denominator that we've had all the way through the series. So I love that, and I'm really I'm not surprised at all, Steven.
It's a strange existence, because on the one hand, without getting dramatic, art for me sometimes has been a salvation. When I can completely immerse myself in work and love doing it, and not have to, and kind of like to the point where I'm cut off from friends, and I don't date. I haven't dated for 10 years since I got divorced, and it's kind of like I'm happy with that, because I do my work, I create, I look after my son, and it's kind of like it's that's what I do. I make art, and I make a lot of art, and maybe I work too much, but on the other hand, it's like with this poster, I feel it's good enough. I like it. I love that image, and when I look at it, it strikes me like, wow, that's actually really good. But I can't say that for all of my work. In fact, I'll work for weeks and weeks and scrap versions, fully painted versions, just because it doesn't hit me in the face. If something doesn't give me a gut punch that I do, I'm kind of like, right, I'm going for the gut punch, So it's really, really like a conflicted existence, which is why I think it's a challenge to be an artist and why they end up killing themselves.
Well, I'm not going to say I can relate, but Lurk, do you feel the same? Because I know Lurk is a wonderful illustrator and artist, Stephen. You should check his work out.
Oh, yeah?
But Lurk, Lurk, do you have the same feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm painting right now. Like, I just fucking work, man. I grew up working. I'll always work, and I'll probably fucking die with a paintbrush in my hand, to be honest.
I love that. Golden, I don't know, you've come up from Rug Radio. So pleased to have you up. I don't know if there was anything you wanted to add. I'm going to ask my final question in a moment, but if there was anything, by all means, unmute yourself and say hello.
Hello, everybody. I am just enjoying this conversation, and that was a very funny sentiment from the artist there at the end. I am curious about your involvement with our Web3 and NFT digital space here compared to traditional markets and promoting something that you might have created with those markets. Like, how has your experience been so far? I know it's new, it's fresh, and probably a lot different than normal, but how would you compare, or just how has it been overall, like your experience dealing with all of this?
I don't want to be negative again after talking about being an artist, but it's been a struggle, Web3, and I think there's not one person in Web3 that wouldn't agree with that. I think everyone would say it's a very difficult space to work in. We're definitely not in the glory days at the moment. The only positive thing I can say about the bear market is the fact that I've been able to develop Fear City under the radar. And when the market comes back, or if the market comes back, I'll have this fully beefed out IP ready to go. Because I have ambitions for this to cross over into Web3. It has to cross into Web3 and into movies and games and TV shows, merchandise, toys. If I don't aspire to that and try and achieve that Web2 kind of regular outlets for cartoons, then it's kind of a bit pointless, because Web3 right now, as we know, is kind of it seems to be sinking, and I hope that I'm wrong. I'm hoping it comes back. I hope the glory days return. I've had a lot of personal experiences with falling out with backers, falling out with people, and like tech going wrong with both of my previous drops. 2 hours where people couldn't buy the NFTs because the tech was shit. Little experiences like that have really pissed me off, and I think we're all kind of like really earning our dues. Whoever's still in Web3 and has been in here for longer than a year or 2 years certainly deserves a medal at some point, because we're really, we're working through a very difficult period. I don't know if you would agree. It's definitely not unicorn and rainbows, is it?
No. Golden, go for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. But I think it's I mean, I really appreciate your candidness and being honest about your experience, because I think a lot of people need to hear that. And maybe, if we can get this message out to some more traditional artists, like just understanding that it's a real thing, right? Like, it's not like you said, butterflies and rainbows, but there is something to it, and there is the hope and dream that there's going to be a greener grass that we're growing on the other side there. But I appreciate you creating art, and I appreciate you having the drop here with us, man. So thank you.
Yeah,
thanks, Golden.
On a more positive note, really, I just see that NFTs are transitioning into something practical now. People want to know what they actually do, and utility obviously is a good start. But it's going to develop into video games. It's going to develop into musicians being able to sell tickets directly to their fans and not have to pay Ticketmaster like 95% of whatever the profit from tickets. Those kind of functional uses of NFTs are going to be huge at some point. What NFT artists selling NFTs need is a huge platform that make it really, really easy for normal people to buy them. Because right now the tech just eliminates 99% of the world from bothering to kind of even set up a MetaMask wallet,
100%. The UX of Web3 is, for me, like, and should be for, in my opinion, pretty much anyone functioning within it, participant, artist, dev, whoever you are, the UX is, for me, the number one priority.
Yeah. I think if a platform with a lot of money could set that up whereby, normal people could just buy an NFT within 3 minutes and not getting frustrated, as opposed to 6 hours trying to set up a MetaMask wallet, and a bit of marketing to convince people, why do they need to buy an NFT? Why does their life need an NFT? I think companies have managed to market flavored water to people when people could just drink water from a tap, or people buy rocks for money, i.e. crystals have magic powers. So if we can convince people to buy a rock as something that has magic powers, we can convince people that a JPEG has a great value as a digital collectible in their lives. Then you're going to have the whole market rebooted, and it might go back to previous prices,
Imagine if we were on stage with two such businesses that were capable of doing such things.
Yeah, it seems pretty obvious.
Looking at you, OpenSea.
I'm only teasing, Sabrina. OpenSea have been very, very helpful to me. I can tell you that much. Okay, well, look, guys, we are running close. I want to finish up, and I think, Stephen, you've just touched on it in a sense where you've talked about the fact that you're really beefing up the narrative so that you are good to go. I know a few people in the space right now who are saying, like, I'm not minting shit. I'm waiting and I'm building up the most wonderful narrative so that when the time is right, we can go and we can kick on. It feels like great advice. But I've got a question in here, which is like plans for the future, maybe in Web3 and out of Web3, but like what's the plan? Because, you've got such a huge fan base and such an iconic style. It would be wonderful to hear that you've got other irons in the fire.
Yeah, so apart from establishing Fizz City as an IP and a cartoon in traditional ways, and even kind of, I have like 3 or 4 movie scripts. I guess everybody does, but I actually have been working on them for 2 or 3 years. That are ready to go, and I want to get into immersive spaces with experiences with Fizz City. So I'm going to go for all of this. I'm not going to just talk about it, and I actually have the product almost ready to go. And I'm having meetings with these people. Most people are full of shit, though. They're kind of like, the number of people that have told me, yeah, we're gonna invest loads of money in Fizz City, or yeah, we want to make a TV show, or whatever. And it's like, I believe them, and it's and then it's like, that's it, tumbleweeds. You never hear from them again. So I'm going to make all that real with Fizz City. That has to be number one. But also, I'm doing a mural painting in next month in Illinois. I want to do a lot more murals because that's nothing that AI can touch. I think the mural market will always be there, and it's fun to do and a fun way to travel.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I think Golden said it well. He said, "Thank you for your candidness." I knew that you, having spoken to you a few times now, I knew that you were like, straightforward, and you would really commit to like how you felt in this interview. And I have not been disappointed, and I hope the folks in the audience haven't been disappointed too, because this really has been quite fascinating.
I don't know. I used to get told off by my team back in the early days for what I was saying on podcasts and Twitter Spaces and stuff, and they'd be like, "You can't do that. You got to be all kind of chirpy and bright and whatever." And it's kind of like, well, it didn't feel authentic, It's kind of like, and also humor comes out of realism, doesn't it?
100%.
You could see what I've said today as something negative, and you could say that I'm a dreary kind of bore. Or you could say like, well, he's just saying it as it is. You know what I mean? But I always try and be funny within that negativity.
I think funny and dreary is a really, really good British trait, and it's something that we all do really well.
Yeah, I love the English. I really always love hanging out with English people because they're just so funny, and they love swearing as well.
Yeah. Well, on that, I'm going to wrap it there. It has been absolutely fantastic to speak with you. I want to thank the people at OpenSea. I want to thank the people at Rug Radio. Thank you to my colleague Sigrid, who is there behind the Audio Galleries account, also do an amazing job of helping to market, and a wonderful co-founder with me of Audio Galleries. Stephen, I don't know if there's any final words you wanted to say, but I just want to say to you, really, this has been a bit of a dream come true in terms of being able to work with and to do something cool with someone who I appreciate so much and whose work I hold in such high regard. So thank you very much for agreeing to join us. I'm really, really delighted with that. Anything from you?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity. And thank you, Sigrid, for helping. And I also want to say that OpenSea, I'm very grateful for their help with this drop. And for putting us on the front page. I'm really happy about that. So, thanks for all your hard work, Ben, and for having me on.
Amazing. So people, there are now, 71 and a half hours, left to mint. If you go to OpenSea.io right now, it's on the homepage there. You can check it out. It will drop down into the notable collections soon enough. And you can also go to the Audio Galleries Discord, and it's in official links. 0.022 Ethereum, and there are up to 262 already, which is amazing. Thank you so much to everyone who's minting. And then we've obviously got that wonderful bear drop afterwards where we've got those characters. And on that note, I want to say thank you to everyone and GM. And it's Synpetica, and we've got Pets by Porno for Pyros. A great track choice, Stephen. Thank you. I'm going to play everyone out. But GM to all, have a wonderful evening, great Friday, wonderful weekend. And we'll catch you all again next week, where we have the wonderful Ricardo Cavallo, who will be joining us. And he's up in the audience right now for a generative edition. And I'm really, really also looking forward to that. So thanks, everyone. Appreciate your patience this last 6-7 weeks. It's great to be back. Thank you for all your support. And we will see you very soon. This is Audio Galleries. Conversations. Connecting collectors and art enthusiasts